There's nothing remotely formal about this. This is what the people want to see, just a bunch of people running their mouths about stuff that only they care about. That's why it's broadcast. Hi everybody.
Well,
Welcome to my monthly Patreon hangout. Welcome to everybody who's here with me, my wonderful patrons who are joining me once again. Welcome to all of you who are watching. I hope you care about the same things we care about, because that's all we're going to talk about. you know, um, Joe, you mentioned we were talking a little bit before we went on the air just now. You were talking about The Revenant, and that reminded. I haven't seen it yet, but I usually go on like an Oscar binge, like either right before or right after the Oscars are
Oh,
telecast. I'll like do a big catch-up binge. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen any of these movies, and I'll just sort of plow through them. It's a tradition for me that goes back to like 1995. Like I haven't seen
oh,
any of the Oscar nominations, and then I'm like, okay, I'll just get this one and this one and this one and just watch them all. But there was this really, because every year that Leonardo DiCaprio gets nominated, there's always like this groundswell of support for him
mhm.
online. It's like this is going to be the year, this is
I'm,
Leo's year,
I'm hoping it is this year.
and yeah, and up until now it never has been. I mean, maybe he'll get it this year, who knows?
Right.
But there was this hilarious Onion article about Leonardo DiCaprio getting nominated for The Revenant. And I don't know if anybody else saw it, but it was just a short, like two-paragraph article on The Onion where it's, supposedly quotes Leonardo DiCaprio saying, I hope I did good enough to win the Oscar this time. I screamed a lot and I cried a lot,
Oh
and
yeah, I
there
read
were
that.
and sometimes my nose was dripping and I didn't even wipe it. I just left it there, and I just thought it was so. He has this like very childlike sort of view of his acting. Like when I was supposed to be mad, I screamed really loud, and I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, sort of
That's
the
funny.
interview equivalent of see Dick, run.
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
I really think I really think this is his year, though. I mean, I know people say that every year, as
Yeah.
you pointed out, Steve. But I mean, I really do think this is his year. The Revenant was. I mean, there were a lot of stretches where he doesn't really talk and it's mostly facial expressions, but I think that takes a lot of skill too.
Oh,
People
absolutely.
people have said, oh, there's a difference between a physically demanding job and an acting job. It's like fuck you. It's watch the movie. Go watch the movie.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what. Maybe this isn't the greatest acting job in the world, but I remember when uh, Joss Whedon was giving his commentary on the Avengers. I was watching it
Hmm.
one time. He talks about that moment when the guy, the physicist, he's been knocked out from the blast from the Iron Man trying to get him, and he
Hmm.
gets up. And the first thing he's wondering what not quite sure what's going on, and he's recognizing what's going on, and then he's recognizing he's got to do something about it. All it is his facial expressions. It's
Yeah.
like maybe 5 seconds, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
thought
the
that there was more of that in the like the Marilyn Monroe and in that area. I thought there was more face work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess it's funny we're talking about face work in acting. I just watched Sunset Boulevard again yesterday,
Ooh.
Ooh,
and
that's a good one.
because Jason Harding and I are doing that for our movie podcast. Next, I'd like that's going to be our next episode of Late Seating,
Cool.
Sunset Boulevard, um, and that's one of my, that's one of my all-time favorite films. I love everything about that movie, and there's that, there's a lot of that. That's a lot of what is going on in Sunset Boulevard. Is Gloria Swanson saying, hey, acting was better back in the silent era because we didn't have all these words. We just had to do everything with our faces. She said we didn't need dialogue; we had faces. you know.
The first time I saw Sunset Boulevard actually was I was in Colorado and my aunt took my brother and I and my cousin to this original film screening of Sunset Boulevard. They had one of those old time projectors and they had a couple of film stocks. They'd switch reels like
Yeah.
they do in the old days, and it was great. It was cool seeing that big old projector, that big old thing. It's like, wow, what a
Yeah.
throwback to a time I was never aware of, alive during.
The
Yeah.
days of Bell and Howell.
We have there's a theater in Frederick, Maryland, which is about half an hour from where I live, and it used to be a silent movie palace. It used to be a Tivoli movie palace that was built in like 1925, and it's still more or less in the original condition. And now they use it for all kinds of stuff. It's basically just a theater. Now they use it for concerts, and they show sound films in there from time to time. But they also show silent movies, and they have I think it's either in the state of Maryland, or maybe even like in this entire part of the country. It's the only original Wurlitzer organ that is still in its original installation, and they play it live when they show silent movies. So you can go to this place and see a silent movie and hear it accompanied by this massive pipe organ, with the pipes in the walls of the theater, live as you watch the movie. It's really a fantastic experience.
I was actually going to ask somewhat sarcastically if you had the piano player and the organ player there, but yeah, apparently you do.
They do, yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's a little, for me, it takes some getting used to if they're showing a movie that I know really well, because I've seen these movies on DVD and they all have soundtracks. I mean, they're not just silent movies. So I get used to the soundtrack that they provide for it on the DVD, and then you watch it in the theater and it's the live organ accompaniment, which is always different. But yeah, it's a really fantastic experience.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of different takes on Metropolis, and there are soundtracks on there, and I think one was DVD and the other was Laserdisc, and just the track was radically different. It was just one of them. They had some heavyweight. I can't remember who doing the soundtrack. And when you see the guys coming in on their shift, getting ready to go to work, and they've got some incredibly heavyweight stuff playing that, and it's just a dirge. You're just crazy.
Yeah, it's really shocking how or striking, I guess, not shocking, but striking how much the soundtrack can affect the way you perceive the movie. Like Philip Glass composed a new score for the 1931 Dracula that you can hear like as an alternate track on the DVD and the Blu-ray of it. And it doesn't really improve the movie, but it radically changes the movie. It's like this Philip Glass score played by Cronus Quartet, but it sounds very modern, but it's played over this creaky like 1931 black and white monster movie.
Did you ever see Koyaanisqatsi?
No, I don't think so.
Never have.
No.
I'm very curious about it, but it's just another something that I had the opportunity to catch.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Which one?
Koyaanisqatsi.
Yeah.
Life Out of Balance.
No. Actually, you mentioned Metropolis. I'm ashamed to say I have not yet seen that movie. I've heard good things about it. I'm taking an Italian film class right now, and we just watched Cabiria. You guys ever heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one. So
okay. Made in 1914. Okay. Made in 1914. The production values are insane. I mean, for a movie of its time, I liked it a lot.
I've seen an anime version of Metropolis.
I've heard of that, but I haven't actually watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Very sad.
An anime.
I mean the anime, not the fact you hadn't seen it.
Yeah. It's so sad that I haven't seen it though. Yeah, there's nothing quite like a silent epic, because like I think especially if you're not like super familiar with silent film, and you tend to think of it as just movies shot on sound stages with static camera shots and just people coming in and out of the frame like it's just a film stage play. When you see a real silent epic like DeMille's original silent version of King of Kings, or another DeMille movie like the original silent version of the Ten Commandments, just these massive, epic crowd shots.
There's also something to be said about the short and sweet ones though, like like Sherlock Jr. I think.
Oh God, yeah.
I think we have that in common. That's a really great movie. I remember I think I asked you, and you had to ask one time. I was like, "Oh, okay, are you ready? Are you sitting down? Okay, Sherlock Jr. is better than the General." You're like, "Oh yeah, no, I agree with that."
Yeah, well, but even Sherlock Jr. If you have that very static view of silent film, there's a lot of movement in Sherlock Jr.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think probably the most famous sequence in it is very locked down because it's the scene where Buster is going into the movie screen
Right.
and being edited into different locations, and the camera doesn't move there.
Right.
There's a lot of cutting, but there's also the stuff when he's on the motorcycle. There's the stuff when he rides past the train tracks just as the train barrels by.
Yeah.
There's all the chasing and the running where the camera's sort of tracking along with him. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is very kinetic. That if you think of silent movies as just being this very sort of staid, very sort of pedestrian, not very technically advanced form of filmmaking, that will kind of surprise you. And the General even more so. The General is
Yeah, the General is great, but I gotta say the dream sequence in Sherlock Jr. I mean, there's really nothing like that. I mean, I was blown away, even in a modern context. It's a really impressive scene.
Yeah. My favorite scene.
What was? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris.
Well, what was derived in the modern, like from the time of Birth of a Nation on? What did they derive from Birth of a Nation that it gets credit for?
Cross-cutting.
Yeah, cross-cutting is a big one.
Christopher Nolan has used cross-cutting to I'm wondering what the word I'm looking for is. To his benefit, I guess. He's really I wouldn't say revolutionized it, but I mean he's made very good use out of it.
Yeah, cutting back and forth between multiple stories to build tension. Yeah, that's
like every time the Joker's gonna attack in the Dark Knight, it cuts between something happening down on the street with Commissioner Loeb's funeral, then it goes back to the room with the tied up guys, and then it cuts between the roof with the sniper on it. Like a lot of that in his movies, and he does a great job.
Where I notice it a lot, thinking about that is Inception. I mean, he goes nuts with it, but he holds it together.
Yeah, and it's pretty much anybody who has ever made a thriller or an action film in the last 80 years. Has utilized that technique, and the other thing about Birth of a Nation is even the techniques that it uses that it didn't innovate, it sort of solidified them. It's a little bit like when you think about Shakespeare, people credit Shakespeare for introducing so many new words into the English language, and a lot of them aren't words. I mean, Shakespeare didn't just make up these words out of his imagination, but he was the first one to use them and to sort of put them down in a format that people read and people saw, and it kind of canonized them. And
he made them part of the vernacular, I would imagine.
Yeah, and Birth of a Nation was a similar thing. I mean, it didn't invent, cutting from wide shots to close-ups. It didn't invent, sort of montage techniques. Not by a long shot. Those techniques were in use, for years before Birth of a Nation. But Birth of a Nation was a big Hollywood epic. It was a big hit movie, and it sort of introduced people to what we now think of as the modern language of movies. It's just a shame that it was also incredibly super racist.
Right, yeah. It's usually for that reason that I just kind of reluctantly accept that it's a well-made movie and then just kind of move on with my life, because I'm really sick of, I mean, because you can acknowledge that it's an influential movie, but I don't get why so many people still have such heartfelt reverence for it. Like, I mean, come on, can't you separate yourself from that a little bit, recognizing how awful the subject matter is? I mean, that's just my opinion personally, but
yeah. I mean, for me, it's not a movie that I watch for pleasure. I mean, it's undeniably an incredibly influential movie, and it's fascinating as a historical artifact. I mean, it's great to read about and to study, but to sit down and watch it, I mean, it's too difficult to watch because it is so blatantly racist.
Right.
And it's also horribly long, if I recall.
It's pretty long, yeah. It's pretty long.
Although it's interesting, I just watched, never saw it all the way through, and I thought I owed it to myself. I went to see, I got a copy of Judgment at Nuremberg.
Yeah. And
I'll tell you what, the first 2 hours just gone. It was. I thought it was tremendous.
Yeah, Judgment at Nuremberg is a pretty good movie. I like Judgment at Nuremberg.
Although I think Maximilian Schell sort of overdoes it, to be candid. I mean, he's about that far away from being completely over the top. Or maybe it's just the fact that, I mean, Tracy is so reserved, and Lancaster is just nuts. I mean, he's very solid, but he's also, when he decides to speak, you're going to listen whether you want to or not.
Yeah. That reminds me of there's a moment in a completely different movie with a completely different actor, but a similar. When I think about Burt Lancaster, I always sort of I automatically also think of Kirk Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different actors, but they have similarities as well. And my favorite Kirk Douglas movie is Paths of Glory. And my favorite moment in Paths of Glory is because Douglas is very reserved in that movie for the most part as well. But then there's a moment late in Paths of Glory when Kirk Douglas's character sort of realizes that because he's been defending soldiers who went AWOL, and
they're accused of going AWOL.
Yeah, they're accused of going AWOL. Right? They're accused of deserting and being cowards. And he realizes that he's going to lose this case, you know. And he finally just sort of snaps on his commanding officer and, you know, says, well, as long as this is what's going to happen anyway, you know, he just sort of yells at him and says, you're a twisted old degenerate, and, you know, and you can go to hell before I can't. It's been a while since I've seen it. I can't remember the exact line, but he just, you know, you're a twisted old degenerate. You can go to hell. And it's like, there's Kirk Douglas. You know, there he is. But
the first thing that came to mind, going back to Burt Lancaster, and I loved him in like Birdman of Alcatraz. I thought he was brilliant in that. Yeah. Absolutely love him in 7 Days in May, which there's a moment there which I think is terrific, is when he's told that, you know, the note from the admiral somewhere out in Spain that the guy went out to sea and got his admission from, and for just a second his eyes go wide and you know he's been had, and up until that point he's completely in control. And then of course the other one is Field of Dreams, when he's talking about, I better get home before Alicia starts to think I got a girlfriend. What he brought to that, just each performance was something that just defined it.
He did a movie in the mid '60s called The Swimmer that I just saw recently over the last couple of months, and I adore that movie, and I love his performance in that, because he does something so subtle with that, where it sort of gradually dawns on you as you watch the movie that he's not right, but it's not apparent immediately. Like at first he seems like, oh, he seems like a normal guy. He just really likes to swim. And then as the movie goes on, you start to be like, oh, wait a minute, there's something wrong with him. Like he's a little bit detached from reality, but he does it in such a way that it's a slow reveal, you know. And it's just a fantastic performance, and that's one of those movies where he is in literally every single scene in the movie. Like he carries the entire film with that performance, and it's really fantastic.
No, I'm trying to remember a movie that I was shown where a guy just got out of prison. It has Christina Ricci in it, and that's the only actor I know in it. And his mother is obsessed with this football team's loss, and she's utterly obsessed with the football team in general. She sort of blames that loss of her favorite team on the birth of her son, and he's going to kill the guy who was paid off to miss a field goal so they lose the game. And that's the entire plot of the movie.
Buffalo 66?
That's it.
Yeah. I never saw that.
Well, that's okay, because Jack Palin's domestic violence was Obama's fault, so can blame things in abstract terms on other people. A football team or domestic violence, it's already somebody else's fault.
Sounds like an interesting movie.
We blame everything on Obama anyway, so.
It's less of a slow reveal, is my point.
Yeah.
Here's a poser for you. Suppose that Trump actually makes it all the way to the White House. How is he going to feel about everything getting blamed on him?
I honestly
probably find it funny.
give a single shit. I mean,
I'm sorry, that question just made me too depressed to answer.
The only problem with Trump is any kind of blame that would get sent to him, he's just going to deflect like Teflon because
It was a
he
young
has that
intern.
narcissistic style.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, he's going to make Ronald Reagan look like he was covered in cellophane tape or something.
We just thrown the wrong family in Yemen, but it must have been a young intern.
Yeah.
Was it Bill Maher just this weekend who was talking about how Donald Trump can just reject reality? Bill Maher pulls out an old video of him in this movie that he can never deny, yet we can show Donald Trump saying something that goes against what he's saying right now, and he'll just deny it ever existed.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Ted Cruz did with his position on choice. I mean, and it's not, it's like he said, he could go up to Fifth Avenue, pull out a weapon, and shoot somebody. Is he going to lose? Probably not.
But he's already said that that he essentially finds his daughter sexually attractive. There's really, the bar is already so.
The bar is lying on the ground.
On the ground, sorry, yeah. I said hi by accident. Yeah, no, it's when he said that, we knew. I think we should have known what we were in for. I mean, it's just going to be an endless barrage of him saying awful things. And which is exactly what it has
you are
been.
all aware from this side of the water, it's just endless mockery of Donald Trump. Even on our most serious news shows, it's just endless mockery.
Are you in England right now?
Yeah, England. Yeah.
All right, because
it's just continuous. Even our most respected journalists are just sort of scratching their heads, going, "Is this actually serious, or is this just the most elaborate publicity campaign by Donald Trump for himself?"
We don't blame you.
That's
the same thing.
That's what we should be doing.
Fire, man. I mean.
It'd be great if he got elected and then he bitched the American public out for voting for him. Like, this was a publicity stunt. What the?
The thing is people are seriously asking is if this is a guy who's never been told no, and has never lost anything or what he perceives as coming second place to anybody, how would he deal with life if he was to lose, either not get nominated or even not be elected? I mean, what's he going to do after that? What can he do?
This is also the same guy who apparently has been through multiple bankruptcies involving probably tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's all water off a duck's back. So,
and it's not like he's even one of the richest people in the country. He's not.
No.
He's not even close to one of the richest people in the country.
He's just very ostentatious.
Yeah.
I just don't. Yeah, I guess so.
He started with his couple $1 million loan that was small and just decided to put his name on everything.
Yeah. He's proof of the American dream that any son of a millionaire can become a billionaire.
Yeah, it has not been easy for me. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million, and have you guys seen that video? And it shot this kid counting pennies and going, "Oh, God damn it."
He pulled himself up by his golden bootstraps.
Yes, exactly.
Now, someone fact check me, but isn't there a statistic that says in the years Donald Trump has been active as this real estate guru, that he has not actually done any better than the stock market during that time?
I've seen that.
I've heard somebody mentioned that on a Hangout here once.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cenk Uygur once said that he would have done just the same by putting his money in the hands of a wise investor and doing nothing whatsoever. He would have done just as well, if not better, but definitely not would have gone bankrupt.
Yeah, but your wise investor wouldn't have put his name on everything. That's the
no. But then again,
because your wise investor doesn't have an ego the size of Montana.
I was going to say, if you need your name in 6-foot gold letters, there's some serious therapy.
I think that's probably the only reason he's even doing this in the first place. He wants to be the guy in the White House, and that's it. I don't think he actually wants to lead the country. I don't think he has any interest in that, honestly.
No, I don't think so either.
What is disappointing, though, is whenever he is interviewed, he does seem to get a very easy time. When he says, right, I'm going to go and hit ISIS, nobody says to him, well, what are you going to do that's different from the way they're getting hit now? What are you going to do different? What's your counterinsurgency policy that hasn't been implemented already in Iraq?
Winning.
So if you've got a better one, I know, I'm just going to do it. But, nobody really pokes him in the chest hard enough.
He's like that one hopelessly drunk relative at the Thanksgiving gathering. Okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go. We're going to win so much. You're going to get sick of winning. We're going to keep winning.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like your drunk uncle.
Here's one thing, though. I think John Dickerson is going to be moderating the next Republican debate, is he not?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought I heard something about that. And he's not exactly Bob Schieffer, but he's not chopped liver either. And I'm sort of wondering if he can bring something to I'm hoping he'll bring something to the table. I don't know that he will, though. Somebody needs to challenge him and not back down.
Yeah, but none of the questions that need to be asked are particularly complicated. It just has to be, Mr. Trump, can you just explain the mechanism in which you're going to induce Mexico to pay for something that you want? What is the mechanism? Are you going to use a law court? Are you going to use invoice them? How's this going to work?
I'm just going to do it. It's going to be huge.
Trust me.
He wants to build a Game of Thrones style wall on the border.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's right. Somebody put on a Seth Rogen. I think it was Seth. No, it wasn't Seth Rogen. It was the guy that did the main show with Jimmy Kimmel. His podcast. I had no idea he was that right wing. He had Trump on, and whatever his answer, he did answer that question, and as far as I can remember, it didn't make any sense. So.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like the word salad that he said when someone asked him that question at a town hall meeting about the American dream. And he was like, the American dream is in trouble, but we're going to bring it back. I promise you that. We're going to bring the American dream back.
That's not even word salad. It's a bunch of vagaries which don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Somewhat unspecific, yes.
If you want you want to toss your word salad, you hire Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
And
now they're together.
That's a good play on words.
Now they're working together in their campaign. It's Donald Trump and Sarah Palin.
No, it's so beautiful.
I never thought this would happen.
I think I think Trump just wants to prove that you can get the Republican nomination even if the Republican Party is dead set against you. Because he's done everything he possibly. Obviously there are a lot of Republicans who support him, but in terms of like the party leadership, he's done everything possible to alienate the party leadership and to make the Republican leaders want like anybody but him.
I think you're giving too much foresight to Donald Trump.
That's true. That's
Personally,
true.
one of my friends gave the best explanation. I probably said this in the last Hangout. If you look up the description of narcissistic personality disorder, you start to understand Trump.
Yeah. Well, another problem is like when we were talking earlier when Robert mentioned something about why don't they ask him these basic questions about his proposals. In the debates, we've seen, especially on the Republican side, how the candidates get really, really testy if they're asked even moderately difficult questions, and they seem to think that that the debates are just campaign events for them. Which they kind of are in a way, or at least that's what they're supposed to be. Because I think the presidential debates, I think since 1988, I might have that wrong, but since 1988, the debates have actually been put together and structured by the parties and by the campaigns themselves. Before that, the debates were governed by the League of Women Voters, which was an independent entity. And the idea was they weren't going to favor any campaign. Or the point of the debate wasn't to make the candidates all look good and to give them all a chance to sell themselves to the people. The point was to challenge them and to force them to defend their positions.
Yeah.
And now it's more about, okay, let's make sure everybody has the. Let's make sure everybody has
seconds of soundbite.
Yeah, exactly, because it's done so that the campaigns have all agreed to, okay, this isn't going to hurt anybody, this is going to help everybody, everybody's going to have a fair shot, and the idea of it being an actual debate where they are facing difficult questions from an independent
Yeah, they filtered out anything that is adversarial. I mean, if anybody even remotely proposed to do something like what the newsroom put out for their, the mock debate that they suggested back in 2012, I mean, the Republican Party, I think, would be up in arms. What I find interesting is I think the Democrats would at least consider it. But then, of course, the Democrats, you've got a sum total of 3 people, whereas how many people are still running in the GOP? There's still, like, what, 8 or 9?
The Democrats have got to attract the people from the bottom end of the scale, from the lower income sector of the lower educated, because that's, unfortunately, Trump and Mike Huckabee have that vote covered, and if you want to attract those people onto your side of the fence, it unfortunately means that the bar of the conversation has got to be lowered down to the right level.
That's I hate to say it, but it seems like they have to be re-brainwashed.
The New York Times recently released an article that said the Republican candidate who was least likely to make a fool of himself in the presidential election would be John Kasich. Apparently, he's like I don't know much about John Kasich. Is it Kasich or Kasich?
Kasich.
Kasich. Okay. Apparently,
like a radio DJ.
He's the only level-headed one. Is that true?
I mean, relatively speaking.
He's reasonable, but he's still anti-women. He's still trying to pull fast shit. I mean, I have as much use for him as a snake has for shoes, and I'm stuck with him. So,
yeah,
you're still the governor here. Yeah.
In all honesty, how many of these Republican candidates do you think even would have a chance in a debate against an actual Democrat? Because they won't even answer questions that are like kind of softball now.
Well, I mean, see, I don't know about. I don't even know if the debates are even that useful. I mean, it's one thing to speculate like, oh, I would love to see Donald Trump debate Hillary, or I would love to see one of these guys try to debate Bernie Sanders. They'd be, but I mean,
how many of their supporters care?
And I mean, to me, it's more It's a much more pertinent question: is how many of them would stand a chance in the election? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I feel like if Trump was nominated, I just don't think he has a realistic shot of winning a general election. I feel like his candidacy would be scary enough to other people that it might actually motivate people who wouldn't otherwise vote to get out and vote and vote.
I hope it's scary enough. My problem is that the electorate at this point, I mean, the very fact that he's leading in the Republican polls, right now, scares the hell out of me. What I would want to see, and one of the great shames I think about American news media right now, I would kill to see Donald Trump interviewed by Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
I would kill for that. Because Wallace, I mean, anybody here remember his interview with Ayatollah Khomeini? Because Wallace walked right up there, cool as a cucumber, respectful, whole 9 yards, and Khomeini's going, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, or any. I mean, the sad thing is there really aren't any more Mike Wallaces around.
There aren't, and that's the problem. That's one of the big problems with the guys who are willing to go head to head and don't back down.
Yeah, and aren't worried about offending the candidate. I mean,
exactly.
It seems like a lot of the reticence from journalists that do get to interview the top tier candidates.
Is it because there's not like a framework of questions and no-go areas before they agree to be interviewed?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, and I think I think one of the other problems is about 25 or 30 years ago there was a paradigm shift in American news media where the major TV news networks decided that they wanted their news divisions to turn a profit.
Yeah.
And
so it's eyes on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Eyes.
Exactly. It wasn't before that. There was more of an ethos of, well, we're doing the news and this is a public service and we want to get people the truth. And I mean, it wasn't quite that pure and wonderful before that. There was always conflicts of interest and politics involved and that kind of thing. But it's sometime in the 80s it really shifted to, okay, we need to get people to watch. This is ratings. And I think a lot of it was that the ratings for the nightly news started to drop because of cable and because of people just not watching the news as much anymore, and
But
they started to panic.
PBS
And they said we need to get people to watch.
PBS is still neutral, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Notionally.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, you won't be able to tell the Tea Party that they're convinced that PBS is somewhere to the left of Bernie Sanders.
And that it's like half of the
somewhere
budget.
in the accurate and the informative zone. That sort of bit there.
Yeah, PBS is pretty, and NPR. You know, they're pretty. At least from where I stand, they're pretty solid news sources, and they certainly don't indulge in the sort of drama stirring that cable news networks tend to do.
I've actually never. I think CNN is actually pretty good too. I mean, they're not great. They're definitely prone to a lot of that.
They like gimmicks, don't they?
Yeah. The problem with CNN is they used to be a lot better, and they really have compromised a lot. They're not Fox News, but they are nowhere near what they were in the late '80s and the very early '90s.
No.
Yeah. No, but politically, they're not as blatantly biased to one side or the other as Fox is.
That's what I was. What I meant.
Yeah.
But no, I think all the major news stations, because I mean, it's the same thing I learned in journalism school before I washed out because it's so fucking difficult. It's a race to be the first to get the headline. Yeah. That's why the news, when something has just happened, and then you immediately hear about it on the news. That's why it's not a good idea to trust what that first initial news report is saying, because they're not trying to give you news. They're just trying to be that guy who said it first. That's what the goal is.
We talked about this a couple of Hangouts ago, because I remember mentioning that whole business about NPR blowing the call on Gabby Giffords.
Yeah.
That was cited as a reason for why misinformation was so easily spread, like the fact that in Columbine they weren't bullied that much. They were just assholes.
Yeah, well, they need stuff to put on TV. Like that's their number one priority, not getting the story right. But we need something to put on TV. And it's weird because it feels like that has changed. I mean, relatively recently, at least so that it's gotten to the point that it's at now, where it seems like that happens all the time. Because
Excuse me, it's not more than that. You're right. They have to have something now, and they have to put something on TV. But and please correct me if I'm wrong, if this is just a sort of British view of things. You say what's happening in the United States, and also state a position. Yeah. So Fox says this is what's happened, and this is our position on it. And the other guy say this is MSNBC said this is what's happened, and this is our position, or this is what our 20 commentators that are all crammed in on the same screen, a bit like this, all think about it with their perfectly white ivory teeth. And whereas over here we just say what happened, rather than when we had the Paris thing here, it was obviously, this is not a million miles away from here, and it was coming in live, and people were just saying what was happening. Whereas when I was watching the US version, this was coming in live, and here's an expert that says, well, this is what happens if you bring loads of immigrants in, or they add agency without any explanation to it, and then somebody else comes in and says, well, if there had more people carrying guns in Paris, it would have been so much better, because the mass shooting.
I have to say, maybe I'm showing my own preferences here. I mean, I'm a big fan of CBS News. I like Scott Pelley. I think he's a straight, from the shoulder reporter, and I really didn't see a whole lot of that. Of course, then too, I will not watch Fox, and I haven't been watching CNN at all. Mostly I was watching CBS and NBC, and I thought their coverage was at least reasonable.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I watch most of the stuff on the internet. So when you watch it on the internet, you're watching clips anyway, rather than watching a news show all the way through. But if, for example, whenever there's obviously you have a bigger problem over there with cops shooting people. Fairly, unfairly, justified, whatever, but it just seems to be whenever this happens on your news shows, they bring in a retired cop for his immediate, off-the-cuff video analysis of something that he doesn't even have the full story or the context of anyway. That's not something we tend to do over here, which I kind of find disturbing. It's like somebody got shot and they said, well, he was a little bit argumentative with the police officer. Like, oh, okay, so where are you going with this? So he's a bit lippy with the police officer. Where does that jump to deadly force? Whereas here we don't tend to have that kind of thing. It always seems to be
a
some
rush
kind
to
of
defend the police officers in cases like these. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always seems to be a rush by news commentators to defend the officer, especially the right-wing ones mostly.
You play it later when I come back.
Well, and you know the thing about what you were just saying, Robert, that really gets on that is like for a news network like Fox News, that you know, in terms of its commentary is very hard to the right, is very biased to the right side of things. But they try to avoid that charge by whenever somebody says, "Oh, Fox News is biased toward the right," they always say, "Oh, but that's just in prime time. That's just when on our commentary shows." You know, I mean, our hosts like Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly have their own opinions, but that doesn't affect our news coverage. But what you're saying is absolutely true. Even during the news coverage during the day when they're covering the current event,
steering.
Yeah, they will
tweaking the steering wheel to situate what they've just seen on the screen, and that's that we find very strange over this.
So they bring on a commentator while they're reporting the story to tell you what they think about the
they're bringing that when it's an ISIS Middle East thing, and they bring in that retired lieutenant colonel who just shouts at the microphone. You know the guy I mean, don't you? The guy that called Obama a pussy.
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm in the British Army, and I've just been through my middle career piece of education at the Defence Academy. We had about 5 clips of this guy, and we're all just sitting there laughing at him. And it just seems strange how let's just get some crazy retired guy because he's got a title. He's suddenly an appeal to authority, you know, second guessing everything before he's even understanding what it is. Before it's even, whilst it's actually happening, that you get these people coming on the screen saying, well, I think this is what's going on, and this is where France has gone wrong with their immigration properly, and this is where Russia's gone wrong with its Syria policy, and like, shit, man, you know, are you gonna guide the news? You're going to guide the news in the right direction, or you're just going to report factually what they do. And this is what I find a bit strange.
Well, you know,
and that opinion role is what will be.
It's a play to get viewers and say, hey, look, we have a commentator on. Look how authentic we are. You know.
Well, you know, it makes me think of a couple years ago when during the Boston Marathon bombing, when CNN got a lot of really bad press because they had reporters out in the streets, like literally chasing ambulances. Like they would hear sirens, and they would cut to their reporters like running after the cars to see what was going on. And just recently, I was thinking about the Columbia disaster in 2003 when the space shuttle Columbia was destroyed, and because I made a video about that'll go up on my channel tomorrow. That's what my Off Monday Ramble is about this week, the space disasters. I talk about Apollo 1 and Challenger and Columbia, and I remember I was watching the coverage of Columbia live, and they did not say on the news, at least not that I remember, they did not say that the shuttle had actually been destroyed until they got official confirmation from NASA. Like they were showing they had the live shot on TV of the debris, you know, falling through the atmosphere, and it was obvious what had happened, and everybody knew what had happened, but they would not officially confirm that yes, the shuttle has been destroyed and the crew has been lost until they got that official word from NASA that yes, that is what has happened. And that was only 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're at this point where, you know, oh, I think the police might have someone in custody. Let's go see. And they're putting that live on television as it happens when they know absolutely nothing. All they want to do is make sure that...
The BBC head of news had to resign after Boston.
And launch right into an action movie.
Yeah. Well, what this reminds me of, if anybody watched the last season of The Newsroom, when you had this guy come in who's supposed to be leading, you know, the news department, and what he wants to do is crowdsource the news. And it's beginning to look like the news departments are sort of following that. You know, they're just going for anything they can grab, anytime they can grab it, without vetting it, without confirming it. You know, it's, you know, I mean, you know, news reporting by committee.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. No.
What is that horrible entertainment news thing where they have like the supervisor standing up and he has that lanyard and he's like getting people to say their take on this thing
TMZ.
TMZ, yes.
TMZ is horrible. Yeah.
Never watched it. Not interested in watching it.
It's
Same
like
here.
a nightmare. It's like a
Mhm.
nightmare. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
that's more like on the level of Entertainment Tonight, maybe 2 rungs below it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, that's my impression of it. That's about really all I know about it.
It's one of those things where I honestly don't get the appeal. I mean, it's like it's tabloid stuff, and it's like, you know, who's fucking who, you know, like who cares?
Steve, at the risk of taking a shot at it, I mean, to sort of cross-reference it with our buddy Bill Shakespeare, I mean, they're playing to the groundlings, aren't they?
Oh, sure.
They're playing to the groundlings.
Sure, they are, but it's one of those things I just have never understood the appeal of. Like, I don't understand, you know, I don't understand the appeal to regular people of, like, paparazzi pictures of celebrities just doing mundane things. You know, like you'll see a bunch of photographs of, like, a famous actor or actress, you know, going grocery shopping. Like, who cares? Is it shocking to me that, like, Jennifer Aniston goes to the grocery store? Do I care?
I remember seeing footage of they caught a famous actress with like her daughter or whatever coming out of the grocery store. They just rushed at her like they were going to attack her or something, but then they just followed her quietly in the most awkward silence imaginable to her car and sat there while she packed everything in silence.
Yeah, it's
My God.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah,
We're just waiting for the Steve Shives paparazzi to get you going to the grocery store, you picking up gas for your truck and whatnot.
That will be so boring. They'll do that once and then they'll never do that again.
And there are some paparazzos who try I especially hate the ones who try their best to invade to capture them while they're in states of undress.
Yeah.
Like people snuck somehow into Kate Middleton's compound and got topless pictures of her sunbathing. Like, why? No.
Well, no,
that
was actually in France, and the guy actually did it from the roof of a van that was on a public road. But he had almost like a Hubble telescope attached to his camera, and he managed to successfully argue that I was in a public place on a public road, and what the eye can see, the eye can see. Obviously, he employed quite a bit of Carl Zeiss technology, but he managed to argue that.
Yeah, but what the eye can see, the eye can see with a 600mm lens.
Yeah.
Well,
the same
argument is that they reasonably expected privacy where they were.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems pretty obvious to me. I mean, I remember they did the same thing years and years ago with the Duchess of York too. You know, she was photographed like topless on a boat on vacation, and they were like, "Oh, look, Fergie's topless." Like, okay.
My God, she has nipples.
Yeah, like
wow. That's amazing.
Those are standard equipment. Those aren't an option.
If only there were some way that people could look at naked pictures of women who have consented to have the picture.
Oh shit! We can't do that.
Just stop talking nonsense.
I mean, if only there was some way.
It won't happen, man. It won't happen.
Where we wouldn't have to invade people's privacy. Yeah.
Fantasy land.
I mean, am I being simplistic by tying this up and saying there's a general fascination with some people with just plain celebrity? I mean,
oh sure.
Yeah,
but you know, a lot of it is it's a lot of it is that, and I think a lot of it is also what we were saying earlier about you want something salacious, you want something to put on TV. Like there's a moment in the Netflix documentary Making a Murderer that I watched over the holidays, like I think everybody else, and there's a scene in Making a Murderer where the media is following the mother of Stephen Avery, like following her out. She's just been to the prison to visit him, and she's like going back to her car, and the reporters and camera people are just right behind her, and they keep asking her these questions like, "What'd you talk about? Did he say anything? What'd you say to him? You know, blah blah blah." And she doesn't look at them. She doesn't say a word to them. She just goes straight from the door to her car and gets in and goes to leave. And I'm thinking, like, where's the story here? Like, what's the news? It's just a mother going to prison to visit her son. Why does the public need to know about this? Like, what is the journalistic justification for going and getting in this woman's face?
None. Zero.
There's none. There's none other than
laundry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, the Eagles song puts it in a cocked hat. That and Get Over It. You know, they're paying to weekday afternoon television. I both of those songs together just absolutely pretty close to say it all.
Yeah, and and those are like 30-year-old songs now, and we've only gotten worse.
It seems like being voyeurs into celebrity lives is just the way that we, at least as Americans, I don't know if the world is the same way. Was it Robert Wool who said something like "Star fucking is as American as apple pie"?
Yes, he did. Assume the position. That was a great piece that he did.
Yeah. And like I say, it just keeps getting worse and worse. Like I don't know. I don't know how much worse it can get.
You know, what I don't understand is how they can get a picture of Kate Middleton topless, but they can't get a picture of her shedding her lizard man skin so they can see that she's a reptile.
That's a good point.
We have no evidence of the lizard people.
I can see the next. I can see the next countercultural revolution going in like blatantly false news stories like that.
Yeah.
With really high production value, special effects.
Oh yeah.
You know, meanwhile, I'm a little surprised at myself that one of the things I got for Christmas I've been digging into is Max Headroom and Edison Carter, 20 Minutes into the Future. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that, but I mean, I look at that and, you know, it's sort of like watching Network because you wonder how much of that is getting ready or already coming true.
Yeah. Well, I think I might be mixing it up a little bit in my head, but I remember there was the reality show Wife Swap. I'm pretty sure that was a sketch on Chappelle's show, like before it was an actual show. And somebody saw it, and there was a sketch on Chappelle's show trying to basically make fun of, like, look how crazy reality shows are. Pretty soon they're going to be swapping people's wives. And someone saw that sketch and said, let's make that show. Yeah.
Dave Chappelle's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
But TV generally now is divided into, let's look at a group of people and their hard profession, whatever it is, whether they're a logger or a truck driver or a guy that catches alligators for no discernible reason. And let's just fill that up with 60 minutes once a week. You know, a guy buys and sells cars. Wow, fucking brilliant. Well done you. You know, how is that entertainment, you know, and all the
Actually, there's a reality show where a guy goes from job to job. He tries a new job every week, as long as it's a dirty job.
Yeah, dirty jobs, yeah.
I used to watch dirty jobs. One thing. What happened to script writing in television? Why do we have to have reality shows? Why can't we have a script like we did back in the 80s?
Because
there's mountains of articles written about that.
It's easier, it's cheaper. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You know, there are also the shows. There's not just the occupation-based shows. There's also the shows that are based on gawking at people who are less fortunate. Like, and I look. I plead guilty. Like I've watched them. I watched like every episode of Hoarders. Right. It was a guilty pleasure, but I watched
My 600-pound life.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, I can't deny that I watched it and that I was entertained by it. But there's something really.
Is that not a 21st century freak show?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like we have a show over here called My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I'm aware of it. I wouldn't. I've watched my 600
I wouldn't recommend it
once or twice. I've caught Hoarders. Of course, it's a scary thing about Hoarders because my wife is a social worker and she occasionally actually has to deal with these people, and that's scary. You know, I mean, it's one thing.
Serious things.
Yeah, it's basically a geek show. It's saying it frames itself as, you know, well, this is a serious disorder and we're just trying to raise awareness of these people. But really, what it is let's all gawk at the freak.
Let's find the craziest.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. You know.
And you know, I think there's. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say was said to.
Hey, Joe.
Said to, yeah, hey, how's it going, Steve? I finally made it in one for after so many months.
Good
but,
to see you, Joe.
Oh, it's good to see you again. My Aunt Evelyn died last February, and she was a hoarder, and was kind of sad because when we were clearing out her place, we didn't really want anything. We just we figured, whatever was still good, we could give away to charity. And going through her stuff, it's weird. I mean, hoarders they hold on to everything, and they keep buying more stuff, but they don't take care of it, and that's the sad part. So basically, ultimately, we found very little that we could actually give away because most of it was just like in a disgusting state. It was really sad. And eventually, I mean, we took some stuff out, and then finally at the end, I just gave the keys to the apartment complex where she lived. I said, "Here, you guys deal with it. We're fucking done."
No idea. No idea what you guys are talking about at all.
It's kind of incredible to me that people would want to take people like that and put their lives on TV.
It's incredible to me that
they get paid.
people who are actually doing that would consent to have their lives put on TV unless they're that desperate for the money.
Well, remember too, though, you're not talking about a normal. There's definitely some kind of pathology going on there.
No kidding.
And I know with my Aunt Evelyn, she would have loved to have been on TV. I mean, she would have eaten it up. She really would have. And I think as far as why people watch, it really comes down to people. And I've come to this realization recently. People always feel like no matter how low their station is in life, they want to feel like there's someone lower than them. And that's why, even within oppressed groups, you'll see subgroups that they get oppressed, or if they're not within their own group, they'll attack another group. Atheist group I used to go to, a woman was from South Africa, and she used to be Jewish, and she was, and she told me how, here they were, Jews were fairly well oppressed in South Africa when she was a child, but she said yet they had servants, and she said her parents talked about the Kafirs and all this kind of stuff, and treated the black servants just as badly as they were getting treated by the white, Christians. And so that's actually what turned her off to religion. She said, "Hey, this must be bullshit because, we're saying, oh God, we're a God's people and we're oppressed, and that's the sign that we're oppressed, and we're oppressing somebody else because we can."
It's the pecking order.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody likes
to heard that as an explanation for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Mike Huckabee would have loved those people.
The funny thing is, I mean, you're making a joke, but the funny thing is, I saw a really good article, show recently, and it was talking about how the two-tiered system of slavery when this country was started. You had black slaves who were permanent slaves, and then you had the indentured servants. And look, they were slaves too, and a lot of white indentured servants, I think it was like 30% of them died before they finished their term. So clearly they didn't have it much better than the blacks. However, they had it a little bit better, and that was on purpose. That was so instead of feeling like I'm on the bottom, because of course the people on the bottom are the ones that generally revolt. You have somebody just a little bit below you that you could point to and say, "Well, we're better off than them," and we're really not, being abused. We're with those guys, just like Fox's audience, these blue collar workers who have nothing, and they're voting to protect the wealth of rich guys. That's how, because basically we say it gets it's the immigrant, it's the black guy, it's the Muslim. That's what's making it bad, and they're down here, and you're going to be up with us any second now. Of course, we know that's bullshit.
Well, in danger of invoking Godwin's law, there is a parallel of focusing on particular demographic groups and blaming everything on them.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a historical parallel. Now, I don't want to use that argument because, for obvious reasons, but it is somewhat disturbing.
Mayans.
And yeah, but the other thing the other guy that makes us laugh over here is Mike Huckabee.
Oh God.
And the absurd things that he comes out with. Now, he doesn't have a hope, as far as I know. I mean, you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
So. But I mean, is he just trying to secure himself a future career as another TV commentator after his previous career?
Whether he is or not, he's got one. I mean, Fox will hire him for life.
Well, if both him and the good brain surgeon were both told by God to run for president, then
Apparently,
Brain surgeon.
apparently God is fickle.
Yeah, mixed signals.
Apparently, God has a very interesting sense of humor.
That's
And
the
also,
only
we've all been
explanation. Yeah.
massively
Okay,
overestimating
I'll
brain
put
surgery.
Sarah Palin
Okay.
here. I'll put Donald Trump here. I'll put Mike Huckabee there. I'll put Cruz here.
And
I feel as if losing would be better for Donald Trump than winning, because then he can be the guy who says, you know what, if you had elected me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
in that
Yeah.
case, he gets to be the second guesser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Oh, I don't really. The funny thing is, I don't think he actually wants to be president.
No.
Yeah. I don't think so
he
either.
doesn't.
I think
It would be a bit complicated for him.
I think that his presidential campaign is just like a troll campaign that has gotten out of hand. I mean, I think if he gets elected, he'll serve. He's not going to say, come on, guys, I was just kidding. I mean, he'll take the office. But, yeah, I think it's a vanity campaign that, he figured would be over in a couple of months and he could find some face-saving way of bowing out.
But isn't there also a virtue of anti-intellectualism?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
In your thing, like the hey,
Well,
Bernie Sanders,
it's the
you
Isaac
using big
Asimov
words,
quote.
what a snob. Have I got it? Have I got this right or wrong?
Well, the funny thing is with Trump is that I remember like back before he became a Republican, he used to actually run in Democratic circles, and I remember I was probably 12 years ago. He was actually out there saying, "Yeah, we got to tax the rich more."
Yeah.
I think he'll say anything.
Obviously.
And the I think the proof that it's a troll campaign, it's almost like he keeps ratcheting up, just like, well, they put up with this shit. Let's see how far I can go.
Exactly. Stephen Colbert did a thing last week where he cut together clips of Trump saying contradictory things.
Trump versus Trump.
Yeah, to make it look like a debate. Yeah, and he had Trump from like a couple years ago saying, "Oh, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to comment on Hillary Clinton because I just think I've known her for so long and I really like her and I think she's doing a really good job as Secretary of State." And then they cut to Trump from this year or last year saying, "Hillary Clinton is the worst Secretary of State we've ever had. She's a joke. She's terrible." And he did the same thing with him talking about Ted Cruz. There's a clip of Trump saying, "Oh, I like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a good guy." And then there's him being interviewed a few weeks ago. "Oh, everybody hates Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is the worst." So
well, he has made us all think that Megyn Kelly is a journalist.
Yeah.
And that would have been unthinkable not so long ago.
Yeah, remember when we were all making fun of her for saying that
Santa Claus is white? Yeah.
He's not anything, right, Megan? Like,
and we don't want to upset any kids watching. He just is white.
He just is.
If anybody's played hardball with Trump, it's been Megan. I mean, she is the one reporter, certainly the one Fox reporter, who's actually had the balls to say, come on, you've been basically treating women as though they're dirt. Yeah. And we're supposed to, you're supposed to have credibility. Hello.
Yeah, and Trump's response to her has basically been an extended version of "Shut up, woman." And his supporters have been applauding him raucously for it. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting to see too, because of course the Republican, apparatus doesn't want him to win.
No, not at all.
And they're desperate to derail him. But the funny thing is that. It's hard for them to fight against because he says the same shit that the other, members of the clown car says.
Yeah.
He just says it with more,
code.
He doesn't hesitate to say it, and he says everything that nobody else would remotely say.
Yeah.
But with less
he
syllables.
says what he knows.
With
less
syllables.
The lowest common denominator is thinking.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
He includes the implications in what he actually says.
Exactly. He doesn't dog whistle. He just says exactly what he means. I've said that before. That my sympathy for the Republican establishment regarding Trump is very limited because they created him. I mean, they might prefer a more genteel version.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, they created the base that he's appealing to. They were the ones who have gone out of their way to attract people like this, to appeal to their fear and their bigotry and their ignorance, and they're the reason why that base exists for Trump to appeal to.
Hoist on their own petard.
There's a real danger that one day we're going to remember the good old days when Bush was president.
Oh, God. Well, the thing that's funny too, I think the main reason why the Republican apparatus is trying to stop him, again, it's not that what he believes is so different from what they do. I think is that it's pretty much on par with what they believe, but he's just more naked. But that's just it. It totally derails the whole bullshit thing of like, oh, we're not bigoted, we're not anti-immigrant, we're not this, we're not that, we're just, looking out for America. And he's like, yeah, no, fuck those Muslims, and fuck black people, fuck women. So so whenever the right wing tries to deflect when we say, there's a war on women, which there is, he just goes out and wages the war directly.
Exactly.
You can argue against him.
Exactly. You can't.
What he's doing.
You can't pretend. If
Right.
Donald Trump is your nominee, you can't pretend because Trump got the if he does get the nomination, he got the nomination by going out on TV every day and saying "fuck immigrants, fuck black people, fuck poor people, fuck women."
In my ignorance, if he loses tomorrow in Iowa, is that him finished, or is that sort of like?
No, not remotely. Not remotely. If he were to lose that, and then New Hampshire and South Carolina, I mean, it would mean things are more interesting. But
it doesn't mean he's
plow
done.
on as long as he's got the ego and the money to do it.
Yeah,
And if he goes as an independent, then he'll just elect Hillary.
I would say so.
He'll just split the dumbass vote.
Yeah.
Exactly. Steve, that reminds me. You did the 5 stupid things about
Primaries
the other day, and I mean the biggest dumb thing is that everybody complains that they have to select the lesser of two evils in the general election, and they don't fucking vote in the one opportunity they have to shape who the candidates are. They don't fucking vote. So I like Bernie, and I'm planning on voting for Bernie in the primary, but I'm getting very frustrated with a lot of Bernie supporters who are just like on this like hate parade against Hillary, even though that they're not that. I mean, they're different, but they're not that different. And the thing is, I'm wondering how many are actually registered, and if they're in a non-open primary, closed primary state, are they registered as Democrats? Because if they're not, they can't vote for Bernie. Well, if you support Bernie, get the fuck out there and make sure you're able to vote for him. God damn it!
I was in that same boat this year. Technically last year, I guess. I actually registered as a Democrat for the first time in my life. I had been registered unaffiliated here in Maryland forever, but Maryland has a closed primary, which means if you're not registered Republican or Democrat, you can vote in the primary, but you're voting for the judge of the orphans court, like that. You don't vote for any of the major races. So I registered Democrat, and our primary isn't until May, so who knows if it will even make a difference by then.
Right.
But I am going to go, and I'm going to vote. I'm probably going to vote for Bernie. But, if Hillary is the nominee, even though I like Bernie, if Hillary's the nominee, as I expect that she will be, I'm going to go vote for her, too. And
she doesn't grab anyone's imagination.
I'm not going to be upset if Hillary's the president. I mean,
No, not at all.
No, I mean, she may be a little bit fake, I guess. People are saying that she takes progressive positions for the wrong reasons, just to get voters. And at least she's taking the positions,
Yeah. Well, she's not inspiring.
Well, especially too. I mean, Bill Clinton is one of the most presidents in history, actually, and certainly with the left. Bill was fake as shit, but so what? He was awesome.
Exactly.
He got a lot of shit done.
Bill's still fake. Bill's fake now, and he's not even. He doesn't have to be fake.
You miss your daddy.
I think about like how 4 years ago the statement was anyone but Romney. I think the statement for this election cycle should be anyone but the clown card.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, I mean, there are one or two of those Republican candidates, I guess, that maybe they could rehab and make at least a somewhat acceptable general election candidate. Like, I guess Rubio, wouldn't
Rubio
be
and Kasich, I think, yes.
Kasich would be all right. I mean, and Jeb Bush, just for his name value, just for his profile, might be serviceable. But I mean, I don't see, like, if you're a sane, reasonable, just sort of working class, ordinary registered Republican, I don't know who you vote for.
Well, especially what gets me is it what's his, Christie could have been one of those. I mean, I don't like the son of a bitch. He's my governor. I fucking can't stand him. He's basically a thug, but he's an adult thug, and so he gained a lot of goodwill in the state. When Sandy happened, and of course he's totally flushed it down the tubes.
Oh yeah.
By, basically mimicking he's basically trying to be Trump.
Yeah. I'd be careful about Jeb Bush, though, because I just recently read, and I think I copied you on this, Steve, that business about him in Anna Maria, Florida, or Ave Maria, Florida, I should say, and that nice little Christian satrapy they've got down there, where the guy who's used to be apparently the majority owner of Domino's Pizza, he's got that lovely little town there, which he in theory controls in perpetuity, and the voters don't get boo worth of a say.
Yeah.
It's and of course that's the home of Ave Maria University as well, and just scary.
Well, the one good thing, at least with Jeb, you notice, because his wife and kids are Latino, he tends to ease up on the anti-Latino hatred.
Yeah. Well, it's I think one of Kasich's saving graces is that I think at the last debate he came out and said, yes, I took the federal money for Obamacare and we spent it on mental health because I don't think that people who have mental illness should be living under bridges. And that and weirdly in the modern Republican Party that qualifies as an unusually humane position. I don't think the mentally ill should live under bridges. Well, you tree hugging hippie.
Those under bridges are for veterans.
Yeah, exactly. If the mentally ill are living under bridges, where are the veterans going to live?
Well, and think about how low the Republican Party has come. You think about, especially when it comes to the whole thing about religion. In the 1960 election, John Kennedy had to jump through backflips, through hoops and everything, to basically prove that he wasn't going to install the Vatican in when he became president.
Exactly.
Religion, and even though Nixon, he was a Quaker, he was a religious man, and that was not, he wasn't pushing that,
Yeah.
But now it's if Jesus isn't every fourth word, you have no fucking hope in that party.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And here in Idaho, they have the local Congress in Idaho, when they're drumming up the budget one year, they could not find money to continue a program that got cystic fibrosis medication to people who couldn't afford it, meaning there were going to be people who were going to die, but they could find money to join a class action lawsuit against Obamacare, which they stated they did not expect to win.
But they did it anyway, didn't they?
That's great.
Yes.
But they're pro-life.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, to me, that's really the way to derail their fucking clown car when it comes to abortion rights, is to just point out, is just to point out their fucking hypocrisy. If you actually gave a shit about life, and forget the argument even about the death penalty, because they always they're guilty and they did something bad. Fine, let's talk about all the innocent people that die at their hands. All the people in Flint that are gonna fucking have brain damage and die early, prematurely because of this shit. The litany is massive, and so let's just I want to take that issue away from them. If you give a fuck about if you want to say you're pro-life, then you can't engage in all this bullshit.
Well, here's the other
George
thing.
Carlin summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
You're fine. If you're preschool.
If you noticed in Texas, when they returned the indictments, they returned it against the guys who produced the video and not against Planned Parenthood. And in Texas, that's huge. At least I think it's huge.
It's huge, but at the same time, I mean, a lot of the people who are pushing that anti-Planned Parenthood thing, I don't think they realize. I mean, there's literally nothing there. They couldn't have called down an indictment against Planned Parenthood because Planned Parenthood didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, well, there's nothing there. There's nothing in Benghazi. There's nothing with the state emails, but they will insist on making something because they've got to make something.
Well, but see, that's the same part about the right wing, though. If you look at typical blue collar right winger, if you actually believe that all the horse shit that Fox News peddled was actually true, then the reactions are totally rational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you believe all this stuff, then how they respond makes perfect sense. I would probably feel the same way. But it's
And
just,
They made something about banning incandescent light bulbs.
oh yeah, that was they ran out and bought them up as if like, oh, my freedom to have basically
My freedom to waste energy.
power,
Yes.
my freedom to cost myself more money.
Exactly.
Can't wait for
Obama's making incandescent light bulbs legal.
Well, a lot of it is just just ignorant, blind resistance to change.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you can explain why the change is good and why the change will benefit you as an individual as well as society, there are people who just, why should I have to change? Things are fine the way they are. That's pretty much the Republican platform. That's been the Republican platform forever. You know, since
Yeah, but their
since
platform's
party
also-
realignment.
But they also
And
have
the details have changed, but it's always been the same agenda.
Yeah.
this change is the first step in a much bigger change that they're secretly planning altogether. You know, this Obamacare is the first step in communism. This filling out a form at a gun show is the first step in tyranny. You know, it's
The
this
slippery
kind of,
slope fallacy.
it's the crappiest argument I've ever heard, and it just makes my head hurt.
Oh, I just wanted to say on a total side note, Robert, you sound a lot like Alan Rickman, and that's extremely cool.
Hang on.
Oh yeah, there's a
Let me
resemblance
just tell
there.
my girlfriend that.
I can teach you how to bewitch the mind and
Sound like
inspire
Upper
the senses. Bottle.
Adios.
Well,
Yippee-ki-yay.
Well, that's very kind, thank you.
on that wonderful note, with one of my patrons complimenting the other by saying that he sounds like a beloved and very much missed British actor, we're done. We're 50 minutes over the usual time, but who cares? So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to call this to an end. Thank you guys who are in the room with me for joining me. Thank you for being my patrons and supporting me, and thanks to all of my patrons who aren't actually here for being my patrons and supporting me. I really appreciate it. I couldn't do it without you guys. And if you are watching this and this looks like fun, or you enjoy my YouTube work and you can afford it and you think I'm worth it and you'd like to help support my channel and help me make the videos that I make, you can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives and become a patron of this channel. That would be awesome. Thank you guys for being here with me, and thank you guys for watching, and we will do this again in about a month. See ya.
Terrific.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.